As you get closer and closer to finishing those main story quests in this first patch of Zenless Zone 0, you're going to be getting a lot more boo pawns, and you're going to be getting pretty close to your pity to get your first S rank Bangboo. As you guys can see here, I'm almost done with chapter 2, so not even finished with it, and I am super close to getting my first S rank from the hard pity, unfortunately. So it's time for me, and probably for a lot of you guys, to really lock in and decide which S rank Bangboo is going to be the best for your account. You might be struggling to choose one because when you come into this menu and you see all of these different Bangboos, it's a little overwhelming at first. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys an overview of what types of Bangboos there are, and how to choose which one will be best for your team or your account. So once again, this is a little intimidating when you first open it up because you're like, how am I going to read through all these abilities and know which one's best for me? But I have some good news for you guys. 66% of these Bangboos do exactly the same thing, just for a different element. For example, we have Sharkboo here, who is going to help by doing ice damage and accumulating ice anomaly buildup, and also boost the ice anomaly buildup that your characters will do when they do chain attacks. Okay, this is pretty good for a mono ice team, which is probably one of the top meta teams right now. Now, if we go to Rocket Boo, we're like, oh, this is a completely different S rank. Let's look at what he does. Oh, he does fire damage and fire anomaly buildup. Oh, and then when my characters do chain attacks, they're going to do more fire anomaly buildup. So you see a pattern here. He's the exact same thing as Sharkboo, except for fire damage. If I go to Plugboo, same thing for electric damage, right? So a lot of these do the same thing, and those are all S ranks, right? If we go down to the A ranks and I choose someone like Electric Boo here, let's look at what he does. It's the same thing, okay? But the difference is he's an A rank. So if we compare the two, although they might do the same thing, let's look. So he does 360% damage multiplier for electric damage compared to Plugboo, who is going to do 512%. So just a little more compared to the A rank. When you get that premium one, it's just going to do a little more damage, okay? Another big category that you're going to run into is these more supportive Bangboos. And these are a great option for most teams because they're pretty universal, right? For example, I've been using this Explore Boo that I got because he is going to give you a variety of buffs. He's going to give you some energy regen, some shield, and some HP recovery, which is awesome, especially when you're trying to push Suryu defense and there's a big difference in level. When you're like level 30, you're trying to push that 35, 38. Explore Boo has been a real boon for me, and I definitely recommend leveling him up or a similar one. I think that which one is it? I think it's Boo Resher is pretty good too. Another energy regen Bangboo. And he's an A rank, so not super hard to get, right? But this is just a nice little comfy quality of life Bangboo. And there's also S rank versions of these. So for example, I think a lot of people are leaning towards Butler Boo right now because he's going to provide a lot of energy regen, right? Which is pretty universal. You can use this on a lot of teams, especially on the Ellen team, because on the Ellen team, you're going to usually have 2 Victoria housekeeping characters, and that's going to further increase your energy regen. So first I want to talk about a couple niche options that will only make sense for a couple people if you're actually building teams that look like this. And the first is a Million, and this guy's going to be great if you are building a free-to-play team around those initial 3 characters that you get, Billy, Ambi, and Nicole. And that is because he's going to do more damage on his chain attack when you have 2 or more Cunning Hares members in your squad. So he has a pretty good multiplier. He does 810% damage. And so it's going to be a nice little burst that you can get. So I would recommend choosing this guy if you are just building that core Cunning Hares team, or maybe you're throwing in Nekomata instead of Billy in there. Another niche option to consider if you're building characters from Bellowbog like Grace or Kaleda is going to be Safety, because he's going to do more damage on his chain attack when there's more Bellowbog Heavy Industries characters, and also when they're afflicted with burning or shocked, which, spoiler alert, all of the Bellowbog Industries characters either are going to inflict burning or shocked. So not a bad option if you're purely building like maybe like a Disorder team with Kaleda and Grace and Ben Bigger. It's not going to be the greatest team in the world, but if that's what you rolled on your account, or you just really like those characters, this could be not a bad option. Definitely not the only option for you. As you can see, his multipliers aren't great, but he does do daze damage. But in that specific situation with your Bellabog team, this guy is going to be a pretty good option. Now let's talk about the mono element team options, and for 90% of players, I think this is the kind of team you should go for and the type of Bangboo you should focus on, because in the game right now, that's really the only meta team you can make. I think disorder teams are going to be big and maybe even better than those teams in the future, but there's just not a lot of characters that support that playstyle right now. So let's talk about these mono element team options, and the first is going to be your fire element. So we're talking, if you got Soldier 11 as your first S rank, this is probably going to be what you want. Find a Lucy for her, find a Ben Bigger for her, and then get yourself a Rocket Boo. This is the premium option for fire damage. It's going to increase a ton of your damage, because if you have Soldier 11, you're constantly going to be burning on her, and this is just going to make it even better for you, and also increase your days, which is never bad. Same thing with Plug Boo. If you say got Grace and Anton and you're running that shock team, maybe with Ambi as well, Plug Boo is going to be your best option, and I would recommend getting him. Same thing here with Resino Boo. If you have an ether team, so you have Juyan and Nicole, this is going to be your best option most likely. And then of course Bang Volver, if you have a Nekomata team and you're running an assault focused team, say with like Corin or someone like that, this is going to be your best option for that. Look at this multiplier, holy cow, this is a lot, and this is going to help your assault damage a lot. Last but not least, let's have a quick chat about Miss Ellen, who is a pretty popular character right now. She's the first limited one, and it's going to be especially hard to choose one for her because she has two great options to pick from. The first being Shark Boo, who is your more offensive option, the general purpose ice damage Bangboo here, who's going to do ice damage and help you do more build up for ice anomaly. So amazing option for her, right? You're going to get more freeze and just more ice damage overall. But then we also have Butler over here, who increases your energy regen and also does it even further if you have two Victoria housekeeping characters, which on an Ellen team, you're almost always going to have at least two, because you're going to want to run her with Lycan or Rena. So if they're both good, what's the difference between playing the two? Well, let me tell you, I think if you pick Butler, you're going to have a lot comfier time on Ellen, because you're going to have her skill up a lot faster, which is going to allow you to get your ice shards back faster and not have to, you know, do as much shenanigans to get those ice shards back. It's just going to be a lot comfier. You're not going to have to try as hard, especially if you only have her at Cinema 0. Now, if you have her at her Cinema 1, which unfortunately the case is, if you have her at her Cinema 1, it just becomes a lot easier to play because you can get her ice shards like that. It's super easy. And in that case, I really don't need to have her skill up that much if you have Cinema 1. So I would go with Shark Boo, because I'm going to value just having more ice damage and more ice anomaly buildup over that. I'm not really worried about getting my ice shards back faster and not really worried about doing my skill at all. So Shark Boo is going to be the better option for me if I have Cinema 1. And one last thing to consider before you end up pulling Butler Boo is that I think his value is going to go down the longer the game goes on. And the reason is I don't see any sign of them releasing more characters for any of the 1.0 factions like Victoria Housekeeping or Bellabog. We just got the drip marketing for the next character, and it's a completely new faction. So as the game goes on, you're not going to run as many Victoria Housekeeping characters as we get better support that aren't in that faction, so you're not going to be able to get the full value out of Butler in the future, whereas Shark Boo is only dependent on the attribute, which, I mean, as long as the game goes on, like when Miyabi drops, who's going to be presumably another ice DPS, you'll be able to slap Shark Boo right on her and it's going to work great. She's probably going to have a better premium option that releases with her, but you know, if you don't want to pull that, you'll have a good S rank option with good stats and a good ability for her. So there you go. I think I covered just about every kind of team you can run, at least in the 1.0 version of the game. But let me know if I missed any of those teams or any Bangboos that you think are just super broken on a certain team or a certain character. I'd love to know. Those are just all the ones I considered. But yeah, thanks so much for watching the video. I hope it was a help to you. If it was, please consider liking and subscribing for more ZZZ content and more gacha content. I'm having an absolute blast playing this game. I hope that you are too. Best of luck on your Bangboo polls, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.